Right, well, so I have been asked, what is the best way of grinding out the Battle Pass? And when this video is being released, I don't think the optimal method is going to be still in the game. Because over the weekends, you get, well, this weekend, you get a Battle Pass boost, which increases the amount of candies you get by 50%. This is not a premium Battle Pass exclusive thing. Everyone that plays the game will get this. But there are ways to increase the amount of candy corn that you get from the game. First one being you playing night 2 and night 3, they will increase the amount of drops higher, apparently, according to Below Natural. It's not stated how much, just saying it's stated that it increases. I'm not sure if night 1 increases it beyond, say, what a multi-mode or hardcore mode will do, but definitely in night 2 and night 3, you increase the amount of candy corn you get. So to maximize your opportunities of getting candy corn, you need to play night 2 and night 3. So, well, first you need to beat night 1, but then you need to play night 2. I'm not sure about easy mode. I would believe that easy mode is pretty much the same in terms of getting the amount of candy corn compared to hard mode as well. But it's the amount of enemies that spawn in easy mode is lower than the amount in hard mode. So I'd assume hard mode is better for grinding out candy corn if you can do it. If not, then just do easy mode probably. I mean, obviously the one thing about this is you're not able to grind out gems in this game mode. You can grind out coins quite easily, but you can't grind out gems. Another thing is can actually use timescales when you're on solo mode. So obviously, if you have some timescale tickets, the best thing to use basically for this is to timescale on this game mode to speed up the enemies that spawn. Now, the drop rates for the candy corn aren't publicly disclosed yet. I could probably find it out for you. Robin probably has. The amount of candy corn that drops from enemies used to be about 7-ish%, but with this update, it's not entirely sure what it is. In those 3 minutes and 30 seconds, I was able to get about over 120 candy corn. With the timescale, before restarting was broken, it might just be that one game. The most optimal thing would have been to just die on like wave 20 or something. Because you don't need to do the whole boss thing to get the maximum amount of candy corn. You don't get any candy corn as a triumph rewards. But what you can do was restart the game, and which would skip the whole going into the lobby, starting a game and everything. So optimally, the best thing would have been dying on wave 20 and then restarting the whole thing, which I did multiple times. Not to grind out candy corn, but it did optimally get me the highest amount of candy corn possible. The problem is, even though it looks like you're going quite fast with your Battle Pass, the amount of candy corn that you need to get for level 40, I believe, is about 20-ish thousand. So I'm only 10% of the way there. With the premium side of things, you don't actually need to buy the premium Battle Pass right from the start. If you buy the premium Battle Pass at level 40, you don't need to redo everything up to level 40 to get the premium side of things. You just automatically get up to level 40. So there's no point buying the premium Battle Pass now, unless you have the fun means for it, like I do, because you could be gifted it by someone, you know? And solo mode is only the best because of the timescale thing that you could use. If you're not on solo mode, it might be better if you're on with other people because it would be easy. I don't know if it's easier. I find solo mode to be fine, but that's because of the towers I have. If you don't have these towers, then it might be harder for you. It probably is harder for you, a lot harder for you. Bearing in mind, VIP Plus and the VIP Game Pass doesn't actually affect the amount of candy corn that drops either. I only believe it's the rate at which they drop that's affected by the 50% thing over the weekends. I don't know if it's this weekend either, only just this weekend. It might be all weekend, but from the way that it was worded, it looks like this weekend only. I wouldn't be surprised if they reintroduce it on like the last few days of the Halloween event, but it might just be this weekend. But I'm not surprised if they introduce it for the next weekend after Night 3 is released. When Night 3 releases, I assume that will be the better way of grinding out candy corn because there'll probably be more enemies in it. The chance of soloing it probably is harder, but depends. With candy corn, obviously, you need to be near the area where the enemies drop it. The only enemies that do drop it are the ones that are naturally spawning. So, for example, if say the Hex Mimic spawns enemies, these enemies that spawn from it aren't going to give candy corn. Only the Hex Mimic would give candy corn, and I believe if the enemy has a death animation, then it would give candy corn on it when it starts its death animation. Otherwise, you shouldn't just let these enemies just spawn out of nowhere, because these enemies won't give out any candy corn. Only these enemies that are naturally spawning would. Enemies, when they do drop the candy corn, are able to give between 1 and 3 candy corns. Originally, when this was released, it could give so much more, but they decided that was actually a bug and it extinct for everyone, which is tragic. Yeah, see? It dropped the candy corn on its death animation. Obviously, you need to be in the area of the enemy to collect it, and you're not fighting for anyone. It's all global for everyone. You're not fighting other people for it, so don't feel like you have to be here at all times. But it does despawn after about 60 seconds or 30 seconds. Just make sure you're in the general vicinity when it drops. There are no other ways of boosting candy corn drops, by the way, other than the Battle Pass boost. And I guess you can play game modes that have more enemies, but with, like, hardcore, I guess. But with hardcore, you don't get the boost that you get in Night 2, which I think, because hardcore is also longer, the amount of enemies that spawn per minute is not as great as like Night 2 or Night 3 would. Which is why it's probably advised that you grind out candy corn on this game mode with a timescale ticket on solo mode. And I'm screwed because I didn't get enough hidden protection. So, in those 8 minutes or so, 9 minutes, I was able to get about 300-ish corns. So you're getting about 100 candy corns a minute with Night 2 plus timescale plus Battle Pass boost, which I think is quite reasonable. So in that circumstance, to get everything in the Battle Pass, which is about 20-ish thousand candy corn, you're looking at about 220 minutes, which is about 3.5 hours. Which is not too bad when you think about it. 3.5 hours when other Battle Passes required nearly 8 to get them all. It's quite reasonable. Obviously, the easiest way to grind out candy corns that no one ever mentions is just buying it. Just so much simpler. Just buy it.